Okay, picking up on slide number 32, let's talk about the dot. So, a dot is placed to the right of a note head, or when we want to increase the value of that note by 1/2 the value. All right, what does that mean? So let's look at the first example we have here of a whole note. So how many beats? How many beats does a whole note receive? If you recall, earlier in this chapter, we learned that whole notes receive 4 beats, right, or 4 counts. So remember, if I play a whole note, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's a whole note. Now, if I place a dot to the right of that whole note, as we see on the top of our graphic here on slide number 32, we see that, we're supposed to increase the value of that whole note, which receives 4 beats, by half of a whole note. So, what's half of a whole note, right? Well, if we have 4 beats for a whole note, if we take away 2, then we have 2, right? So, because half of 4 is 2. Just like a half note receives 2 beats, right? So, what's then 4 plus 2? That's 6, right? So, a whole note, which receives 4, plus a half note, which receives 2, equals 6. Okay, so, all right, 4 plus 2 equals 6. Simple as that. So now a dotted half note gets 6 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we're done. All right, let's look at another example to clarify this further. So let's look at the dotted half note, right? Or if we're looking here on the graphic, the one that's in the middle. So it's a half note with a dot to the right of it, okay? So we think, how many beats does a half note get? As we learned earlier in this chapter, half notes get 2 beats, all right? But if we see the dot next to the half note, that is, if we see a dotted half note, we need to add half the value of a half note. So what is half of a half note? Okay, well, half note gets 2 beats, right? 1, 2. If we take away 1, we end up with 1, right? So what's going to be our half note, which is 2, plus half of a half note, which is 1? That's 3 beats. So a dotted half note gets 3 beats, right? 1, 2, 3. Now, let's talk about the one on the bottom here, a dotted quarter note, okay? So this one, it follow the same formula as the above ones, right? So we have a dotted quarter note. So what's a quarter note? It gets 1 beat, right? What's half of 1? Well, half of 1 is a half, right? So we're going to say for a dotted quarter note, we're going to go 1 plus half, which is 1.5, right? So that's going to be 1.5 beats. All right, we're going to look more, and we're going to practice these as we go here. But let's move on to our next slide. A little bit more about dots and ties. Okay, so sometimes in music, ties are used, as we practiced and saw before this video. So sometimes ties are used, and sometimes dots are used. And sometimes dotted notes can be used in place of ties. And you could write the same music with ties or dots. So let's recall on slide number 33, if we're looking at our graphic here, we have our rhythm pattern that's on the top, not the one on the bottom, the one on top, the ties. Let's recall, let's practice that again. This is the same thing we practiced on slide number 31. So remember, we're going to do this one as ready, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, I didn't do the repeats there. So that could be played as the one on the bottom using dotted notes, right? So now I'll practice the one on the bottom, right? I'm going to clap on beat 1. I'm going to clap on the and in between 2 and 3 because I have an eighth note there. Then I have another dotted quarter note on beat 3, and so that's going to last for 3 and 4. And then I'm going to clap again on the and after 4. Okay, so we can see our dotted quarter notes get the equivalent of 3/8 notes, or you could also think of that as one quarter note and an eighth note, or 1.5. Okay, so let's try this with the dots. Ready, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so I didn't do the repeat signs there. Let's try it with the repeat signs now. Okay, so just do the same thing twice. Ready, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, so the way we wrote it with ties and the way we wrote it with dots, it ends up sounding the same, right? It looks different on notation-wise on the page, but it ends up sounding the exact same. So sometimes ties are used, sometimes dots are used to indicate the same thing. Okay, let's move on to our next slide, number 34. And let's play the following rhythms, okay? Let's look at number 1. So with number 1, we have a dotted half note, which remember receives 3 beats, and then we have 2 eighth notes right on beat 4. Okay, let's do number 1. Ready, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, number 2. Let's clap it. So I have quarter note on beat 1, quarter note on beat 2, dotted quarter note on beat 3, and then an eighth note on beat 4. Right, so I'm clapping on 1, I'm clapping on 2, I'm clapping on 3, and then I'm clapping on the and right after 4. Okay, here we go with repeats. Ready, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, now let's do number 3. So I have a quarter note right on beat 1 and then a dotted quarter note on beat number 2. And then, since it's a dotted quarter note, I'm going to play it on beat 2, but I'm sustaining through beat 3 and 4. Okay, let's clap number 3 here. So we have ready, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. If I were to play a pitch with this one, notice the sustain. So you have ready, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay? Number 4. So with number 4, I have a quarter note on beat 1, and then I have a quarter note on beat 2 and 3, but I have a tie between them, right? So I'm going to clap on beat 1, I'm going to clap on beat 2, I'm going to sustain through beat 3, meaning I'm not going to clap again, but then on beat 4 I have another quarter note, so I will clap on beat number 4. So let's do number 4. Ready, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. If I use a pitch with this one, I go 1, ready, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay? Let's look at number 5. So now I have a dotted quarter note on beat 1, and then I have an eighth note after that. So I'm going to play my eighth note right on the and of 2, right after beat 2, but before beat 3. And then I'm going to clap right on beat 3 because I have another quarter note, and then I'm going to clap right on beat 4 because I have another quarter note there. Okay? So on 1, the end of 2, the beat 3 and beat 4 is where you clap on this one. Ready, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay? Let's move on to number 6. So here I have 2 eighth notes right on beat 1, then a quarter note on beat 2, then a dotted quarter note right on beat 3, and then I have an eighth note on the and after 4. Okay, so let's try this one. Ready, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Notice I didn't clap on beat 4. I clapped on right after beat 4, right? Because my eighth note is on the and of 4 here. All right, I know that the counts aren't written, but eventually we're going to get to music where there are no counts written. We just see the rhythm patterns. So you have to start kind of getting used to that. We have to kind of wean you off these little counts that are written on the page. Let's try number 7. So I have a half note with a tie, right? So I have a half note, I'm going to sustain that through beats 1 and 2, and then since I have a tie, I'm going to sustain all the way to beat number 3. And then I'm going to play again on the and after 3, and then I'm going to clap again on beat 4, and then clap again right after 4, right? So let's try number 7. Ready, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. If I play this one using a pitch, I have ready, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay. Number 8, here we go. So notice I've got quarter note on beat 1, and then it's tied to beat 2, right? So I'm going to sustain from beat 1 to 2, but then I have to clap on the and of 2, and then on 3, the and of 3, and then on beat number 4. Here we go. Ready, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay? Number 9. Here we go. I have 2 eighth notes on beat 1, quarter note on beat 2, which is sustained through a tie to beat number 3, and then a quarter note on beat number 4. Okay, so here we go with number 9. Ready, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and with a pitch for number 9. Ready, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, number 10, last one. So with number 10, I have quarter note on beat 1, quarter note on beat 2, and then there's a tie sustaining to beat 3, and then I have an eighth note right after 3, so I'm going to clap on the and after 3, and then I'm going to clap again on beat number 4 because I have a quarter note on beat number 4. Ready, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. With a pitch for this one, ready, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay.